Welcome to ExceedTheHype.com. It's your boy Lucrecio here with another podcast. So, today this podcast is discussing the Golden State Warriors and, um, in particular, Mr. Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors, the starting forward, sometimes small forward, sometimes power forward, sometimes center for the Golden State Warriors. So, I entitled today's podcast "Guarding Draymond" because that's basically what this is about. It's about guarding Draymond. In my humble opinion, I think that Draymond Green is the key to what the Warriors do. Everything the Warriors do somehow is based around Draymond Green. Right? So first, before we start really diving in to the Draymond analysis, I'm just going to sit here and talk about the Warriors in general. All right. So right now, I think they're currently like 49-8 or something like that. In the standings, obviously, no, that's good enough for number one in the Western Conference, and the good enough for number one overall in the NBA. So, why are these guys so dominant during the regular season? Well, there's a couple of reasons, but before I get into that, I want to talk about how far the team has come. So, before before they had a coach named Mark Jackson, who all those years I thought was a very good coach. Obviously, when Steve Kerr kind of took over the team, because of their incredible improvement, it kind of begs the question: well, was Mark Jackson really that great of a coach, considering all the players that he had? Because these are the same players. These Warriors that are dominating the NBA, these were the same exact players that were getting booted in the second round, getting beaten by the Clippers, getting beaten by whoever. um, Steph Curry, this is the same Steph Curry who was getting a lot. Well, Steph Curry's obviously went through a transformation, but ultimately he was still Steph Curry when Danny Green was locking him up in the playoffs, and he couldn't get anything done on Danny Green. This is the same team. So, in my opinion, Mark Jackson had a very old school understanding of how to win basketball games. So, in comparing him and Steve Kerr, I feel like Mark Jackson was very big on positional basketball. Um, that's why he had Steph Curry trying to play the role of facilitator, which is a role that, in my opinion, he isn't that great at. He's about average. Also, you have to look at the development of Draymond Green. Now, Draymond Green was a very talented all-around player when he was in college. But under Mark Jackson did not see his talent in the same way that he saw himself, or that Steve Kerr saw him. So this Draymond that is such a issue. Not that Draymond Green is the best basketball player. I can't stress that enough. I don't think Draymond Green as a basketball player is that excellent, right? But in the role that they have him in, and with his diverse skill set, I think he is an issue. He is the issue that causes the most trouble on the Golden State Warriors, which, in my opinion, makes him arguably the most important player. So, let's talk about Draymond for a second. He comes out of Michigan State. I, for one, thought he was going to be in the first round. It comes out he is not in the first round at all. He's picked in the second round of the, even after winning all those conference awards and whatnot, and being a star in college. The NBA prospects looked at him, looked at his height. Uh, Obviously, they didn't want their playmaker to be him, basically. He himself probably thought he would have a role in the NBA similar to like what LeBron James has, where he has the option to be the facilitator or the option to be whatever. And, the NBA and Mark Jackson in particular didn't see it that way. So anyway, long story short, he gets drafted to the Golden State Warriors in the second round. And for the first couple seasons, he has times when he struggles to get minutes, and then he has other times where he's just, in the game basically to try to grab some rebounds and make some hustle plays and play defense. And he kind of had to rock with that role, and it didn't really seem as if it would expand at any time soon. So then, from being a bench hustle, off the bench rebounder, who in my opinion was being used in a way similar to like Quincy Acey or somebody like that for Draymond Green, from that to being possibly one of the most difficult matchups in the NBA. Well, how is that possible? Well, obviously Steve Kerr. Now, I will go back to Steve Kerr. I don't think Steve Kerr is just the greatest coach, like other people think. I think him and Luke Walton uh, had the foresight and just the understanding of um, the current complications and the current trends going on in the NBA right now. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is the death of the big man, or the the position of center, or the position of a strong power forward, or whatever that you have playing in the post. I guess instead of saying the death of the big man, I guess I should say the death of the inside game in the NBA, because that's what it's looking like. Like, for instance, you have DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins does go inside. He does play outside. He shoots a lot of threes now. Let's think about some of the big men of today versus the big men of yesteryear. You have Dwight Howard. He was popular for a while. He doesn't have a lot of skill, right? He's a very good defensive player. He's a very excellent rebounder. But when it comes to being a traditional post man, big man in the post, where you kick it down low for two easy points, Dwight Howard wasn't that guy. Now, while he can get you some lobs and he had some stuff that he can do, he didn't have a lot. And then considering how big he was and the opportunity to be a very, very dominant Shaq-like force in the NBA, he really underwhelmed because he couldn't develop anything. Even one thing I think is very, very underrated in today's NBA is the touch shot. I think the little touch shots that people get up, whether I know one person who was excellent at this was Shaq. Now people think, who didn't watch Shaq or whatever, people think all Shaq did was dunk and knock people over or whatever. It was not, that was really was not the case. He did do a lot of that, but a lot of the stuff that he got was just touch type shots around a basket. 5 feet away from the basket, 4 feet, within 5 feet, but a lot of it was just those little touch shots, not necessarily a hook, kind of like, it looked kind of like a floater almost, like with little bunnies or whatever. People underrate how important that is to the game. So, because Yao Ming used to get a lot of that type of stuff, a lot of them little touch shots, a lot of those little baby hooks, a lot of that stuff that's around the basket, but it's not as easy as you think. Because Dwight Howard was somebody who, in my opinion, never really had that added on to his game. Um, Another person, DeAndre Jordan is another one. The centers in today's game is basically, if I'm a scout and I want a center, right? Am I going out to get somebody who I can kick it to in a post and who could execute a drop step and a pivot or whatever? You know what I mean? To get like a easy basket? No, like you're not gonna find that in today's basketball. The closest thing to that for a young player who has that stuff is Jaleel Okafor, and he's not even a good player because he doesn't play defense and he doesn't rebound. So how ridiculous is it to have somebody with all the offensive skills in the world, all the offensive post skills in the world, who can't play post defense, who can't play defense in general, who can't get rebounds even though you're almost 7 feet tall? It's ridiculous. But that's it. It's not a lot of people who can do that. So my original point is, because that there's not a lot of people who can do that type of thing, who have the post game that they can go to, who can back you down if you play a little man inside at the 4 or 5 position who could really make you pay all game and force you to change your lineup. Since you don't have anybody in there to force that action, you can have then that gives birth to a Draymond Green. So, what does Draymond do that's so excellent that makes Golden State so fierce, right? Well, Draymond Green, he's their number one facilitator first of all. So if you have somebody playing the 4 or the 5 position who has the ball in their hands, creating and actually dishing and initiating the offense, right away it's a mismatch because the person guarding him is supposed to be really protecting the rim. But first of all, you have him out of position in the area that he's uncomfortable. Second of all, since he's out of position and away from the basket, and he basically they open up space for penetration if they chose to do that. That's one way he gets you. The other way, most times centers and power forwards aren't comfortable playing all on ball defense to somebody with the actual basketball, because typically a power forward or a center will not be handling the ball that much in at the top of the key of all places. So you have those two factors. The fact that he has the ball, the fact that your center or your power forward has to guard him, and the fact that he's facilitating, and then also obviously the fact that even though Draymond Green probably isn't quicker than your guards or your small forward, he's definitely quicker than your power forward or your center. So when he's playing that position, you cannot guard him. It's a constant mismatch. You can't check him. Like nobody who's a center or power forward can check him. So let's talk about the defensive end. Okay, well naturally, if you're playing a 6'5" uh, guy at the center position, obviously that's going to be bad for you. That's going to be a bucket every time down. Well, not necessarily. Remember what I was just talking about the big man in the NBA not really being skilled. The big men in the NBA for now are really just guys who can grab rebounds, protect the rim, and who are, I guess you could say, agile or who can move well, who can get up and down the court easy for putbacks and things of that nature. So if you're mobile and you're 7 feet tall, and you can grab a rebound, you can block a shot, you're the ideal center. You know, whereas that kind of a center or that kind of a power forward really is ineffective versus Golden State because number one, you can't guard their center slash power forward uh, in their death lineup with Draymond, and number two, you can't do anything to him. You know what I mean? And also, it also helps him that he's very strong. So he's a very strong guy. So even if you did have a center power forward who would try to back him down in the post, it's still not it's not barbecue chicken as Shaq would say. You know what I mean? It's not easy. You still have to have some power because he's a strong guy, and then plus since he's shorter, you know, it's I guess lower center of gravity or whatever. But it's difficult to play post offense against him if you're not really a skilled big man. So those are some of the reasons that Draymond causes such a headache for defenses. Um, with that being the case, the name of this podcast is Guarding Draymond. So it's guarding Draymond and it's guarding the Golden State Warriors. Now that we understand why Draymond Green is so effective, the question is how do you counteract what he can bring to the table? Well, the way you counteract what he can bring to the table is just simply by getting your wing players need to be defensively versatile. That's the key. Because if you look at how they lost last year and how they're going to lose this year, um, the Cavaliers had guys, right? So you had people like Richard Jefferson who didn't play all year. You have LeBron. You had um, you just had guys. You had J.R. Smith. You had Iman Shumpert. You had very versatile perimeter defenders. Iman can guard 1 through 3. J.R. Smith can guard 1 through 3. LeBron can guard 1 through 5. Richard Jefferson can guard 1 through 4. That's where the Warriors kind of leave themselves open because one thing your wing you just have to have wing players who are versatile defensively. So who did the Cavaliers just sign to a 10-day contract, right? Derek Williams. A lot of people are wondering, okay, I don't know why they did that. LeBron was saying he wanted a playmaker. He doesn't fit the bill. They also need a big man, and he fits neither category. Well, even though he fits neither category, I thought that was if he were to stick, which we don't know. There's also that guy named Josh Smith who's playing in China right now who may come over. Apparently, they signed 3-month deals in China, so they go play for 3 months and then they come back kind of a few months before the playoffs start. J.R. Smith did that a couple years ago. People do that quite often. I honestly thought he was going to be the person that they go after, Josh Smith. The reason why is because he's a versatile defender and he's also big. So I think at this point, everything the Cavs do is going to be based on Golden State in one way or the other, which for a multitude of reasons could prove to be a bad philosophy. The reason why is even though most people consider it a that Golden State is gonna make it to the finals automatically, I don't follow that line of thinking. I don't think it's a wash. I think San Antonio could potentially beat them, and as I will always say, Memphis is a team that could beat Golden State in the playoffs if they're healthy. That's just my opinion. So, um, would be that as it may, the Cavaliers, I thought they were going to go after Josh Smith because he's somebody who can guard Draymond or Kevin Durant. Now, not that he can stop them necessarily, but you need. It's all about matchups. The playoffs are all about matchups. You need somebody to guard the versatility that the Golden State Warriors have. LeBron James will be on Kevin Durant and switching as necessary, right? But LeBron James is good because he can guard 1 through 5, so it's no problem. They're gonna try to keep Kyrie Irving on the guards as much as possible. Um, when J.R. Smith comes back, J.R. Smith is great at guarding his position, and like I said, he 1 through 3. So and the Warriors can force you to switch a lot. So the more diverse, versatile defenders you can have out there, the better. I think this Derek Williams thing is gonna be pretty good. Number one, he's about 6'8". He's big. He's quick. He's quick. Uh, he's quick laterally, which is something I think is very very underrated, which is important for being able to play great defense, right? I do think, and I noticed one thing when even though they lost this game against the OKC Thunder, I did notice that they used it basically just as a way to throw different stuff at Derek Williams to see how he responds to it. If you notice, in the third quarter, there was a time period where he was guarding Russell Westbrook. So he was the center on the court, but he was guarding Russell Westbrook at the top of the key by himself. There was no help. And they were doing that on purpose. They weren't bringing any help. They weren't trying to switch anything. They were leaving him on Russell. Why? Well, they were testing him out to see how versatile he could be defensively. Could he guard a point guard if necessary for stretches? The Cavaliers are a team full of people who are going to be pivotal, who are going to be pivotal in stopping Golden State. If you look at Tristan Thompson, I think Tristan Thompson is the absolute key to the victory last year. Why? Why do I say he was the key to the victory last year? Well, when the Golden State Warriors offense broke down last year, every time it broke down, what did it turn into? It turned into Steph Curry beyond the 3-point line, calling for a screen, and them getting the switch on the screen. They took the absolute worst matchup every single time, and they had, whether it's Cantor or whoever, some big guy awkwardly on the island with Steph Curry while he just gave him the work real quick, basically, and buried a shot. And that's what their offense turned into so many times in the playoffs. Well, obviously the chickens came home to roost in the finals when you try to switch the center on Steph Curry and have him do what he did the whole playoffs and the whole season, and all of a sudden Tristan Thompson is sliding right along with him, and he's long and giving Steph Curry problems. That's the defensive versatility that I'm talking about. Tristan Thompson, even though he is a center, he is a true center or a power forward, he is a true big man. Um, he's athletic. He's very, very athletic. He's very quick laterally. He can guard guards for periods of time throughout the game. I mean, throughout the possession. And because of that, it gave the Cavaliers a huge advantage. Because you have your five who can guard anybody. You have LeBron who can guard anybody. You have Richard Jefferson who can guard most positions on the floor at this stage in his career. You have an Iman Shumpert or J.R. Smith who can guard 1 through 3, or in a Warriors situation, he can guard 1 through 4. Basically, he can guard anybody the Warriors have unless they had Bogut in the game. And then you had Kyrie Irving, who for the most part they Golden State considered to be a bad defender, so they liked the matchup with Curry versus Kyrie, which they shouldn't, because on the other way around, they should really try to avoid having Curry on Kyrie. So that's my podcast, man. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think about my analysis about Draymond Green, about the Golden State Warriors, about the Cavaliers. Just let me know what you think, man. There's gonna be more podcasts coming soon. I'm also probably gonna start uploading them on YouTube, depending. So yeah, leave your comments.